So my name is Fergus Keyes and I'm one of the directors of the Montreal Irish Monument Park Foundation. And today we're standing in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, in front of what is known as the Black Rock. Now the history behind this is that in 1847, approximately 80,000 Irish fleeing the famine arrived here in Montreal. Montreal is an island, and there were no more than 50,000 people living on the island of Montreal in 1847. So you can imagine more than the entire population of the city arrived. Now the objective of our group, the Montreal Irish Monument Park Foundation, is to build a beautiful memorial park across the street behind us in a parking lot. Now the reason for that is during the summer, and it was a very, very hot summer in 1847, sometimes referred to as a Calcutta summer, over the course of that summer, more than 6,000 of these 80,000 Irish that had arrived died and were buried right here in this spot. So we would like to build this memorial not only to the 6,000 Irish that died, but also to the absolutely fantastic humanitarian effort by the Montrealers who were living in Montreal at that time. Pretty much every single religious group, the Catholics, the Protestants, and the Jewish population, pretty much every language group where they spoke English, they spoke French, or they spoke Irish. Many cultural groups, including the First Nations, arrived on the site to provide whatever help and comfort they could for these Irish. In the end, like I say, 6,000 of them died. Now in 1859, which was approximately 12 years after the event, we're building a bridge that's down here called the Victoria Bridge. It joins the South Shore to the island of Montreal. And that bridge was being built mainly by Irish workers. And as they were doing the construction of the bridge, they came across some of the coffins of some of these Irish, these 6,000 Irish that had died. And they felt it was very important that some monument, some mark be made to remember them. So what they did is they pulled a black stone, they pulled a stone, whether it was black or not when it originally came out of the water is up for debate, but they took a stone from the St. Lawrence River and placed it here. It was originally called the Irish Commemorative Stone, but over the years, certainly because there's train tracks and there's a lot of traffic in the area, the stone has turned black. So now we refer to it quite often as either the Black Stone or the Black Rock within our own Irish community, but even the wider community uses that designation. So, the history of the Black Rock. Well, it came, like I say, in 1859. In about 1899, the Grand Trunk Railway, which owned the railway coming through here, decided that they really didn't want this rock here, and they took it and moved it to another location in Montreal. The Irish community, needless to say, were quite upset about that, and led by the Ancient Order of Hibernians, they took the Grand Trunk Railway to court. It was a long battle, and eventually in 1911, the stone was returned basically to where it was originally situated in 1859. Not exactly. It seems to be out by about 27 feet. Some people say a little bit longer. And so this stone sits here now. Here we are in 2018, and the stone still sits here for 170 years or so. So I'm Fergus Keyes with the Montreal Irish Monument Park Foundation, and we're going to speak for a minute about the Victoria Bridge. In 1847, when the 6,000 Irish died and were buried in this spot, the island of Montreal was indeed an island. There was no way to get here other than in the warm weather by boat or in the cold weather over the ice by sleigh. So in the 1850s, a very well-known British engineering group formed a consortium, Beto, Brassey, and Betts, and started the construction of the Victoria Bridge. The bridge was built almost entirely by Irish workers, and during the construction of the bridge, they came across any number of coffins where the 6,000 Irish had died 12 years before in 1847. So they decided that there had to be some kind of memorial. So the very first memorial anywhere in the world to the famine was right here in Montreal, and it's called the Black Rock. The rock was pulled out of the water in 1859 and put here for as long as the water flows and as long as the grass grows. It has its own unique history where it was moved and returned again. But in effect, the Black Rock is actually not only a memorial rock, it's also a tombstone, since any number of Irish are buried underneath it, famine victim from 1847.